The emergency camp had been built for 2 weeks of survival, not 3 months. When the Scalera supply ship vanished during its orbit insertion, every outpost on the tropical moon of Lurash went from relatively safe to potential starvation. By the 12th rotation without resupply, tempers were cracking. The camp of 23 beings, 6 species from across the Accord, was down to ration paste packets and recycled water. Even the nutrient recyclers' filters had begun to taste of copper and algae. Lieutenant Mara Denning sat at the edge of the waterline, boots half buried in pink sand. The ocean shimmered in twin sunlight, a sheet of molten turquoise stretching toward the horizon. The sight would have been beautiful, if not for the gnawing ache in everyone's stomachs. Behind her, Captain Yithral of the Threxian Expeditionary Corps stalked along the camp perimeter. His chitin armor clicked faintly as his 4 eyes scanned the dunes. "We are dying slowly," he hissed in the dry, staccato tones of his species. The human command promised resupply. Promised logistics. Mara didn't look up. "I am the human command now, Captain. And I'm doing what I can. You are doing nothing." That snapped something in her. Mara turned, meeting his multiple eyes without flinching. "Nothing. I've kept your soldiers from tearing each other apart. I've kept the generator running with scavenged parts. And I've kept this camp alive on half rations while your own logistics officers tried to eat the field manuals." Yithral's mandibles clicked. Irritation, not amusement. But before he could reply, a shout went up from the camp's center. "Filters are failing. Recycle units spiking." Mara was already moving, boots kicking up sand. Inside the main habitat dome, the air smelled of hot plastic and ozone. The water recycler, their last reliable source of drinkable water, was sputtering, the internal light blinking red. Technician Varin, a scaled Clishan engineer, hissed in despair. "The membrane is degraded beyond repair. The algae bloom is choking the intake. There is nothing left to clean the water." Mara pressed her lips together. Her throat was dry, her stomach hollow. Everyone looked at her, waiting for orders. Waiting for a miracle. "Then we find another source," she said. "There's an ocean right outside." Varin blinked. "The salt ocean. It is filled with metallic particulates and microorganisms. You will poison us all." "Not if we process it properly," Mara said. "Distillation, filtration, collection. We can build a still." Yithral stepped forward. "We do not have the energy cells to power thermal distillation." Mara's lips curved faintly. "Who said anything about using the power cells?" 2 hours later, the beach looked like a science fair gone mad. Mara had half the camp dragging transparent tarps from the storage bay. Using empty ration containers, spare tubing, and a few reflective panels from the solar array, she assembled a crude but functional solar still array across the sand. When the twin suns hit full zenith, droplets of clean condensation began to form under the tarps, dripping slowly into collection bins. By dusk they had 10 liters of clean water. It wasn't much, but it was hope. That night, as the sun sank below the horizon and the bioluminescent waves began to glow, something in the camp shifted. For the first time in weeks, people laughed. Yithral even admitted, grudgingly, that the humans' primitive thermal vapor trap had saved their lives. But Mara wasn't done. She stood staring out at the glowing surf, the rhythmic crash of waves against the coral sand shore. The ocean teemed with strange life, darting silver streaks under the surface, wing-finned creatures that glided just above the waterline. She could almost smell the salt and fish. Her stomach growled. The idea struck her like lightning. "Fishing," she murmured. The next morning she woke before dawn. She raided the tool crates, found 2 lengths of composite tubing, stripped some damaged wiring, and fashioned a makeshift fishing rod. The others watched in varying degrees of confusion and amusement as she waded knee-deep into the surf. Varin blinked his reptilian eyes. "You intend to hunt with a string?" "It's called fishing," Mara said. "You wait. You listen. You learn what bites." For an hour nothing happened. Then the line jerked. Hard. The rod bent in a tight arc, her boots sliding in the wet sand. With a grunt she reeled in, hand over hand, until a flash of silver burst through the surface. A kelter finback, roughly the size of a human forearm, its scales shimmering blue and violet. The creature flopped violently in the sand, letting out a chirp like a squeaky hinge. The camp gathered around, wide-eyed. Mara grinned, raising the wriggling fish high. Dinner. The first few attempts at cooking were experimental. The ration burners were too weak for open flame, so she built a pit from driftwood and scrap metal. She set a flat piece of hull plating over the coals, a makeshift grill. The smell that filled the camp as the fish sizzled drew even the most skeptical aliens closer. Yithral sniffed the air warily. "You are burning it." "Cooking," Mara corrected. "Burning is what happens when I'm not paying attention." When the meat flaked apart and the outer skin crisped to golden perfection, she tore a piece off and tasted it. The flesh was delicate, a little salty, faintly sweet, surprisingly good. She swallowed and nodded. "Edible," she said. "And safe." The others didn't need more convincing. Within an hour, even the Threxians were crunching roasted finback, their mandibles clicking in appreciation. The Clitians, carnivorous by nature, devoured theirs raw. The camp hadn't sounded this alive since the crash. For the next few days, fishing became a routine. Mara taught others to build rods, weave nets, even shape hooks from melted-down ration clips. They learned the tides, the feeding times, the dangers. They discovered that certain shellfish along the rocks were safe to eat when boiled, others not so much. The human strange project turned into an operation. Yithral began calling it the beach kitchen, and somehow the name stuck. Every evening, the camp gathered by the shoreline, the solar stills glimmering in the background. They shared stories, recipes, even laughter. It wasn't just survival anymore. It was something more, living. One night, Mara sat by the fire, sipping from a tin cup of distilled water that almost tasted sweet. Varin approached quietly, his scales reflecting the firelight. "I do not understand humans," he admitted. "You face scarcity not with despair, but with invention. When the food ends, you make more. When the water ends, you find another source. Is this instinct?" Mara smiled faintly. "Instinct, maybe. But mostly stubbornness. Back home we learn to make do with what we have. To adapt. It's kind of our thing." He tilted his head. "Perhaps that is why the galaxy fears you." She laughed softly. "They shouldn't fear us. They should eat with us." But she didn't know that her little beach kitchen would soon become much more than a morale project. Because far beyond the horizon, something was stirring. Something drawn by the smell of cooked fish and campfire smoke. Something that didn't belong to this moon's peaceful ecosystem. 3 nights later it came. The camp was asleep when Mara heard the first sound, a deep, rhythmic thrum that seemed to vibrate through the sand itself. She sat up, heart pounding. The ocean glowed faintly under the starlight, waves rippling with bioluminescent blue. Then she saw it, a silhouette moving beneath the water, massive, deliberate, circling closer to shore. She shouted for the guards. "Wake up. Something's in the water." Yithral was the first to reach her, blaster rifle in hand. His eyes widened as a shape broke the surface, A dark, ridged form longer than a shuttlecraft, with glimmering eyes like molten glass. "What is that?" Varen hissed. Before Mara could answer, the creature let out a sound, half roar, half horn, and slammed its tail against the waves, sending a spray of phosphorescent light into the air. The ocean itself seemed to tremble. The fish scattered. The beach kitchen fire sputtered out under the surge of water. Mara stood frozen, the roar still echoing through her chest. Yithral raised his weapon. "It is a predator. I will." "Wait," she shouted, catching his arm. "We don't know what it wants." But even as she spoke, the creature turned, its great head rising, nostrils flaring. It sniffed once, then bellowed again, louder this time. And beneath that sound, Mara could swear she heard something almost like a call. The roar faded into the crash of waves. All around the beach, lights flickered on, lanterns, portable torches, and the faint hum of blasters warming up. Mara stepped forward until the surf touched her boots. The massive creature hovered just offshore, its ridged back glinting beneath the twin moons. Its head, broad and plated like living armor, rose higher, revealing rows of faintly glowing spots along its jaw. "Lieutenant, step back," Yithral barked. But Mara didn't. Her instincts told her something different. The creature wasn't attacking. It was curious. Then she saw it. A long scar slashing across its flank, raw and recent. The wound pulsed with faint luminescence. The predator wasn't hunting, it was injured. She slowly crouched, unhooking one of the freshly caught finbacks from the bucket beside the fire pit. With deliberate calm, she tossed it into the surf. The creature's eyes followed the motion. It opened its massive mouth, and the fish vanished in a single gulp. A low, almost contented rumble followed. "See," Mara whispered. "It's not here to kill us. It's hungry. Same as we were." Varen hissed softly behind her. "You are feeding it. That thing could devour the entire camp. Or protect it," Mara said. By dawn, the creature was gone, leaving only a churned-up shoreline and wrecked nets. But when the camp awoke, they found something unexpected. Floating near the beach were gifts. Heaps of silver-scaled fish and strange shellfruit that glowed faintly in the morning light. The alien beast had brought them food. For the first time since the crash, no one went hungry. From that day on, the creature returned every few nights, circling near the shallows. Mara named it Terran after an old Earth-sea spirit. The others called it the Guardian of the Shore. Mara began setting aside portions of the catch for it. A silent exchange, a pact sealed in food and trust. The camp thrived again. The solar stills multiplied. Their water stores filled. They even began to rebuild their signal beacon. But the galaxy has a way of testing peace. On the 35th night, as the camp feasted under the twin moons, the sky split open. A crimson flare streaked down through the clouds, a dropship armored and bristling with weapons. Its thrusters scorched the air as it descended toward the shoreline. Yithral's mandibles clicked sharply. "It is not our resupply vessel. That is a Korthan hunter craft." Mara's stomach tightened. The Korthans were scavengers and pirates, drawn to distress beacons like vultures to carrion. The dropship landed in a spray of sand. 6 armored figures emerged, rifles humming with plasma charge. Their leader's voice crackled through a modulator. "By salvage law, this camp and its contents belong to the Korthan Dominion. Step away from your supplies." Mara's jaw tightened. "We're not surrendering our food, our gear, or our people." The Korthan laughed, a harsh metallic rasp. "Then you will surrender your lives." Weapons leveled. The beach fell silent. and then the ocean moved. A sound like thunder rolled across the water. The surf surged forward, glowing alive. From the depths rose Terran. The creature's eyes blazed gold as it let out a roar that shook the sand itself. Water crashed over the Korthans, hurling 2 of them into the air. Their rifles sparked and went dead under the salt spray. The leader screamed orders, but it was chaos. Waves hammering, wind howling, sand swirling like a storm. Mara shouted, "Fall back to the camp! Now!" Yithral covered the retreat, firing bursts of plasma that hissed harmlessly against the drenched air. Terran surged forward, tail slamming into the dropship. The craft flipped, half submerged in surf. When the water finally calmed, the beach was littered with debris, and the Korthans were gone, their ship sinking into the glowing sea. Mara stood at the edge of the water, soaked and trembling, staring at the massive creature that had saved them. "Terran," she whispered. The great being dipped its head once, as if in acknowledgement, before sliding back beneath the waves. The light faded until only the soft glow of plankton remained. In the days that followed, the story spread. Through rescue beacons, through every alien who survived the Lurash crash. When the Skalara 2 finally arrived to extract them, the rescue crew found a thriving settlement. Water purification, renewable food sources, and a strange legend about a human who made the ocean feed them. Captain Yithral recorded the official report with typical Threxian precision. But in the footnotes, he added something unexpected. Human ingenuity defied extinction. Where the Accord's technology failed, a single human mind turned survival into community. She did not simply keep us alive, she taught us how to live again. Mara stood on the ship's loading ramp, watching the shoreline fade as they ascended. From above, the ocean glittered like a living gem. Varen joined her, holding a ration tin filled with sea salt and shells. "You are leaving your kitchen behind." She smiled. "No, I'm leaving it for them. The next crew that lands here won't starve." He tilted his head. "Do you think the creature will remember?" Mara's gaze softened. Below, a dark shape glided beneath the surface. Massive, calm, watchful. "I think it already does," she said. Months later, across hundreds of worlds, the story took root. Soldiers whispered it in mess halls. Colonists told it around campfires. Scientists debated it in academies. The legend of the beach kitchen became a symbol, a tale of the impossible human ability to adapt, to connect, to turn survival into art. And on a distant moon where twin suns rise over coral sands, a massive sea creature still comes to shore at dusk, waiting for the familiar scent of roasted fish and smoke. Sometimes it hums softly, the same rhythm it heard from the small creature who once shared its food and her fire. Epilogue Log, HFY Central Archive. Designation: Denning Lieutenant Mara. Incident: Lurash Outpost Survival Event. Outcome: 23 lives saved, 1 interspecies alliance formed, 1 ecosystem restored. Human behavioral note: when faced with extinction, humans don't just survive, they invent dinner.